Welcome back to Learner's Corner. Today I'm here with another video on Robert Frost's home burial. It is one of the important topics that we have to cover for Kerala PSC English Lectureship examination. You know that Robert Frost is one of the important American poet who had written lots of poems like Road Not Taken, then Mending Wall. So these poems are very famous poems. And about Robert Frost, he had published his poems first in England and later in America. And he was able to win Pulitzer Prize for 4 times. That is also an important factor about Robert Frost. And most of his poems are set in New England's rural life. And this poem is also set in a family house, possibly in a farmhouse in rural New England. So that is about the background of this poem. And when we are moving on to the poem, in this video I am mainly concentrating on an introduction, summary, analysis and extra point. As it is a description right examination, we need to know about this poem as such. Then home burial. This poem describes two tragedies. First, the death of a young child, and second, the death of a marriage. So when we are reading this poem, we could see that the husband and wife relationship. So after the death of the first young child, they were not at all able to communicate properly. So the husband is not at all able to understand the feeling of wife, and feeling that wife is also not at all able to understand her husband. So that conflict becomes a reason for the failure of their family life. So that is the main theme of this poem, and this poem consists of 120 lines. So Home Burial is a dramatic monologue poem that details the emotional and psychological reactions of a rural couple following the death and subsequent burial of their young son. So that is a main theme of this poem. The poem describes two tragedies. As I told you, the first one is the death of a young child, and second, the death of a marriage. So when we are reading through this poem, which is written in blank verse, the reader becomes a part of a short, intense scene from the play. The imagery is clear, the character in position. What follows is an increasingly serious drama. The dialogue switching from man to woman as the narration progresses. So we can see it is a dramatic narration in this poem. So the death of child is a catalyst of the couple's problem. So problem was there, and the death of the son became as a catalyst for the problem. The larger conflict that destroyed the marriage is a couple's inability to communicate with one another. Both characters feel grief at the loss of the child, but neither is able to understand the way that their partner chooses to express their sorrow. So that is the main reason for the second tragedy. Second tragedy, as I told you, that the death of a marriage. So they were not at all able to communicate properly with each other and to understand both of them. So that is one of the main reason for the second tragedy. Then Home Burial has a total of 120 lines, which include both dialogues and narration. So I told you that it is a monologue poem, and we can see a dramatic narration, or a husband and wife dialogues can be seen in this poem. In this poem, the emphasis is on dialogue and the management of tension, how the man and women articulate their feeling. The initial 5 lines are third person narrated, setting the scene. The tone is neutral at this point. First initial part of this poem, we can see a neutral way of narration. Neutral tone can be seen in this poem. And when we look into this poem, we could see that Robert Frost's son was also died in the infancy. So that feeling was also influenced him to write this poem. The tone of home burial has subtle changes throughout the poem. I told you that the first part is a neutral tone, but throughout the poem we could see a subtle changes. Although the reader is aware of the grief of the couple share, the manner in which the man and wife communicate with each other produces both anger, frustration, and denial. So both of them are behaving or expressing the sorrow in their own way. The other one is not at all able to understand or accept that way of expression. So that became a reason for conflict. One of the more intrigue is the idea that the couple's marriage had cracks in its prior to the child's death. Some of early dialogues suggest that the woman isn't too impressed with the man and vice versa. Deep-seated feelings have been brought to the surface by their unfortunate loss. So that their unfortunate loss has become a big reason for their emotional imbalance. As I told you, this poem subject has taken from his own experience or his own first-hand experience of having lost of a son aged 4 years in the year of 1900. The tragic death haunted him and his wife Eleanor for years. Both Frost and his wife believed in the power of conversation as a means of overcoming misunderstanding, and in this poem we could see that the main reason for their problem is the lack of conversation or understanding each other. In this poem Frost explored this theory of speech. So all truth is dialogue. He mentioned both characters attempting to work through their grief with the spoken word, but in the end without success. So that is also we can see in this poem. Frost brings larger issues in the forefront, issues such as husband-wife relationship or that between men and women or life and death. The title of the poem is highly significant. It suggests not only the burial of the dead infant but also the domestic harmony. Home burial is a beautiful and a grandeur rank with the death of a hired man. Frost These two dramatic narratives can favorably be compared to Robert Browning's particularly intense character analysis dramatic monologue like Andreas del Sarto, Fra Lippo, My Last Duchess, and Popper with the Witch of Grafto. So Andrea del Sarto we have already studied in our PG level. Fra Lippo we know about it. So these are some famous dramatic monologues that we have already completed. So in this poem also we can see some relation or a connection with these poems. Then major themes in home burial, the mental breakdown, the loss of a child, and the collapse of a marriage are the major theme. I have already told you all these things. The poem presents a family disturbed by the death of their son, while the husband accepts the biological sequence of life and the reality of death. The mother is traumatized with the intense grief, leaving her mentally ill. So mostly mothers are becoming more traumatized with if any such incidents happen in their life. Moreover, the communication gap between them restricted them to express their sorrow. The husband wants a wife to express her anger and anxiety, but she blames him for being so composed and for accepting the tragic stroke of life. Then when we look into the analysis of this poem, we could see that the stanza, I have already told you that it is a 120 line poem, and stanza, there are 8 long stanzas in this poem. Then it is written in blank verse without any specific rhyme. Then scheme, the poem is written in blank verse. Then repetition, there is a repetition of the line what is it you see, and like that, which has created a musical quality in this poem. When we are reading through this poem, we could see these repetitions and all refrain. Then the line that are repeated at some distance in the poem are called refrain. The line "What is it you see" is repeated with the same word. It has become a refrain as it has been repeated thrice in the first stanza. So refrain can be seen, then repetition, then it is in blank verse. So these are some specialities of this poem. Hope you have understood something about this poem with this video. If you like this video, please subscribe it, like the button, and support me. Okay, I'll be back with another video. Till then, before that, let me tell you that you have to read this poem to get a thorough knowledge or a deep understanding about this poem. Okay then, bye. We'll be back with another video.